So, good morning, everyone. I'm Florence Toilier from the University of Lyon in France, and with Gwenaelle Raton from the Gustave Eiffel University. We are going to present a work done with Mathieu Gardrat, which deals with short food supply chains, SFCs, and the logistics levers to be used in order to develop them. It's the result of a student workshop conducted last year during the lockdown. The students had to review the literature on SFCs and to interview local actors such as producers, cooperative structures, supermarkets, carriers, etc., in order to identify the levers and the barriers to tripling the consumption of locally produced food in the Lyon metropolitan area. So SFCs appears to be the way to meet several challenges, health issues. It's seasonal and minimally processed products would help to fight against obesity and cardiovascular disease. Economic issues, because to improve food autonomy and farmer incomes, and environmental issues to reduce polluting emissions due to long distance transport and to fight against land artificialization linked to urban sprawl. It also meets with consumers' expectations to give sense to their daily diet and to know more about what they are eating. For these reasons, public policies to support the development of SFCs are carried out by both national and European authorities. For instance, in France, we can mention the Egalim law in favor of local and organic products in school canteens and the territorial food projects. And in Europe, the Rural Development Policy Scheme and less regulatory measures for small farms selling directly. Public authorities are now committed to the relocation of food and seeking more sustainable food systems from a social, economic, health, and environmental perspective. Their action focus on production and consumption, but distribution is usually ignored in these policies as well as SFC's actors. SFC's aims at reducing the number of intermediaries between the farmer and the consumer in order to limit it to a maximum of one commercial intermediary, except transport and logistics intermediaries. It can be direct sales from the producer to the consumer, such as sales at the farm or on local market or producers markets or farmers markets or in producers shops. But it can also be sales through shops, from groceries to hypermarkets. In this definition of short food supply chains, the distance traveled by the product isn't taken into account. That's why we will focus today on proximity-based SFCs that is less than 160 kilometers travel from the place of production to the place of consumption. In addition to the general SFC's goals, the aim of proximity-based SFCs is to favor a social relationship between the different actors involved into them.
So by reducing the number of intermediaries, the producers are in charge of multiple commercial and logistical tasks, taking and preparing orders, packing, solicitation, communicating, ensuring flow-up, but also and very often delivering. The consequences are significant time spent on logistical tasks, on average 8 hours per week on delivery and 16 sale points per firm. So the consequences are also costly logistical tasks. According to a survey in the Seine Valley, half of the producers do not calculate their logistical cost, and 60% of producers do not include the cost of transport in the selling price. From an environmental point of view, the reduction of distances does not systematically ensure better sustainability. Indeed, short food supply chains are not long supply chain in miniature. It's a more fragmented logistic, small volumes from a multitude of farms to a multitude of sale points, often relatively close but not always concentrate, diversity of product and the logistics carried out by non-professional. This last point is important because our account vehicle fleets are usually older and consequently more polluting than third-party account fleets. The consequences are the shelf logistic costs vary greatly from one producer to another. For example, the average cost is 23% of revenues, but some studies show that the delivery cost can be more than 50% of revenues. Thus, it's a more complex logistic, but and more difficult to improve. The COVID crisis is a good indicator illustrating the difficulty faced by SFC's development. During the French lockdown, small food retail, and especially organic and local food retail, had experienced an important growth in the number of its customers, from 2 to 3 times more, and in some cases up to 6 times more. This quick increase has shown the fragility of this organization, like lack of supply to satisfy the demand, packaging supply difficulties due to a production in foreign country, or lack of local processing industry, or place to sell their product when outdoor markets were forbidden. So in the light of this experience, the question is what solution can be implemented in order to allow SFC development without increasing the negative externalities. We suggest 3 solutions. The first two aims at reduce the cost and time spent by producer in logistic operation and favor the distribution to grocery. And the third one target the public response to increase the food autonomy in a territory. So first level, cooperate and organize its own delivery service for the first and last mile. The example is the Gardrat, a group of grocery shops that cooperate in order to access local producers and sell their product. This collective becomes a logistic service, allowing product to be collected from the farm and from grouping place. This service offered to the farmer is a commercial argument. They do not have to bear the entire burden of delivery. And it's also a service for grocery store, which are used to the delay and the reactivity of conventional logistics and are not always very inclined to take into account the constraints of farmers. The second level is multiply the small hub and enhance existing resources. Another collaborative solution is the Mule, a digital platform offers to the CFC's actors that make it possible to combine transport like co-delivery and storage. And it was born from the observation that farmers may be forced to refuse direct sale opportunities because of a lack of time for deliveries. The platform is a kind of freight exchange for SFCs. So it's a very new approach of information sharing between actors who were not used to doing it. And moreover, the multiplication of small hubs on the territory breaks with the logic of economy of scale, but seems adapted to the fragmentation of flow in the CFCs. And last one, federate local initiatives and facilities to serve the greatest number of people. This initiative is a metropolitan food wholesale market. The objective of this facility is to gather the production of a territory in order to distribute it within this territory. It's a collaborative superstructure that brings together producer, food actor, such as food processing industry, the distribution sector, storage facilities, the public authority, and the consumer. And it aims at developing the existing distribution offer to favor the local consumption of local food. So all together, this initiative seems to offer a useful diversity of solutions adapted to the wide variety of logistical constraints in a territory. To conclude, the traditional actors of the supply chain are present in the SFCs: producer, intermediaries, and consumer. Local authorities are now part of the system. Territorial food plan and EGalim law give them an even greater role, but several actors still need to be mobilized. Transport professionals are the actor of traditional supply chain, but for the moment, their participation in CFC is marginal. And another actor seems to be essential: the real estate developer. They make it possible to think SFC not only by the development of new outlets, but by the location of dedicated facilities as urban, peri-urban, or rural infrastructure dedicated to the circulation of goods. So we need, therefore, to rethink SFC's logistic organization, including a need to relocate logistic and distribution service, building a local ecosystem of service for the food supply chain, and reinforce and support the digitalization of the sector, and even more with the COVID crisis. Thank you for your attention.